Okay. Good morning, BNI Thrive. As you guys heard, my name is Freddy Valdovinos, and I'm a residential realtor with Century 21, Creekside Realty here in Chilliwack. My presentation today is called 1 million in 10 years in real estate. Let's begin. So today's agenda, I will go over the purpose of my presentation. I'll talk a little bit about myself. Then I will cover pro formas and what they are. Then I will evaluate an asset using a pro forma. Lastly, I'll go over a path to $1 million in 10 years in real estate. Then I'll conclude and take questions at the end. The purpose of this presentation will focus on answering the $1 million question. Can you make $1 million in 10 years in real estate? And if so, how? We will look at a pro forma, what a pro forma is and how to use it to determine if a property is a good investment. I'll be evaluating a property using a pro forma. And lastly, I will be showing you guys a path to $1 million in 10 years in real estate. A little bit about myself. I was born in Mexico, but raised in California. I spent the last 10 years in Texas before moving to Chilliwack 2.5 years ago. I spent the last 10 years in the car business as a finance manager. I've been a licensed realtor for about a year now, and I'm loving it. As Jessica mentioned, I find satisfaction in helping others achieve a goal. I work for Century 21, Creekside Realty. We are the #1 brokerage in Chilliwack and #2 in all of BC by units sold. I married a Chilliwackian, and that's how I ended up here. We have a white boxer named Luna, and my goal is to own three rental properties and have 2 kids and be able to coach their soccer team. A little fun fact about me, at one point I majored in computer science, but realized that I hated programming. So what is a pro forma? Simply, it is a cash flow projection, a projection on how much money an investment or a business will make over a period of time. It is an effective tool in analyzing an investment. We'll be using pro formas in our path to $1 million in 10 years. So why are they important? It is the first step in decision making for any real estate investment, and it also helps to make decisions based on numbers and not emotions. What are the basic items on a pro forma? Number 1 is total cost of acquiring the asset, including down payment. Number 2, revenue produced by the asset. 3, expenses incurred. 4, net operating income. And 5, return on investment and future calculations. How real estate assets should be viewed. They can be broken into 3 categories. Number 1, appreciation. 2, principal repayment. 3, cash flow. Which one of these is more important? It all depends on the person. Here's a little analogy. Let's go for dinner and say that an appetizer is cash flow, main course is principal repayment, and dessert is appreciation. When I go for dinner, I go for the main course. And if I have an appetizer or dessert, that is a bonus. But some people might just go for appetizers or dessert only. So early investors tend to focus on cash flow, and the more experienced investors focus on appreciation. Appreciation will actually make the most money. So now let's evaluate an asset. So this is a 2-bedroom detached house for sale in one of the best locations in Chilliwack, Sardis. So the purchase price is $360,000. So this is what a pro forma looks like. We'll start here in the middle. So $360,000, 20% down, gives us a mortgage of $288,000. We're going to calculate this at 5.9 interest rate. So we can easily rent this house for $2,000. Vacancy rate right now in Chilliwack is actually 1.5. We're going to use 3%. So we take that minus it. It gives us a net rent of $1,940. Then we calculate our mortgage payment, factor in taxes. And then for repairs and maintenance, we'll do 3%. So minus 60 gives us total expenses of $1,880. Gives us a cash flow of $60. Annually, $718. Doesn't really sound like much, but like I said earlier, appreciation is where the money's at. So if we come down here to the bottom, if we take Chilliwack's average increase in the last 35 years, it's 7%. So if we look at it now, 360, in 5 years, it increases 148,000. We'll have a mortgage balance of 267,000, equity of 240,000, giving us an ROI annual gain of 42%. But now where it gets interesting, if we go to the last page, we look at the 10-year calculation, same thing, 7%, 360,000, 10-year increase, 357,000. mortgage balance 239, equity 477. We factor in our costs, our down payment, closing costs, our cash flow, total investment. So total investment $404,000 in 10 years. So that's a gain of 550%. So now let's look at a path to making $1 million in 10 years. So this was all calculated doing pro formas, just like the one I went over on all properties, and we're assuming zero cash flow on all of them. So first, we'll buy an apartment like the previous example, purchase price of $450,000. We'll have 20% down or $90,000 down payment. So an increase over 5 years, it's going to be $185,000. So if we take that and we add it to the purchase price, it'll give us $635,000. So if we take 80% of that, which we can take for equity, so that's going to give us $175,000. So we're going to use this money to purchase our second property. But before that, let's look at what happens in 10 years. So in 10 years, the value of this property is going to be $896,000. We have a mortgage balance of $461,000. So that gives us total equity of $435,000. So now let's go buy our second property. We'll do a townhouse. With $175,000, we can purchase all the way up to $878,000. So in 5 years, the value increase of this is going to be $361,000. So same thing, we take that, add it to the purchase price, gives us $1.2 million. 80% of that will give us $354,000 as equity to buy our third property. But before we move on, let's see what that happens in 5 years. So value 1.2. We're going to have a mortgage balance of $991,000. So we subtract that, it gives us total equity of $247,000. Lastly, with that equity of $354,000, we can purchase something all the way up to 1.7. So if we take that 1.7, we'll have a mortgage balance of 1.4, giving us an equity of $354,000. So after 10 years, the apartment is going to give us $435,000 in equity. Townhouse is going to be $247,000, and our house is going to be $354,000, giving us a total of $1,037,842 in equity. So, question is, can you make $1 million in 10 years in real estate? So, just to conclude, I went over the purpose of this presentation. I talked a little bit about myself. I covered pro formas and what they are. I evaluated an asset using a pro forma. And I laid out a path to making $1 million in 10 years in real estate. And the answer is yes, yes, you can. So thank you guys very much. If you guys would like a tailored plan for yourself or know of anybody that would, I would love to connect with them. Thank you once again, and I will now take any questions.